We just bought a motorhome. We've never owned one before. We've no idea what we're doing. So come join us as we learn on our great British adventure. So we're packed and ready to go. Trip 1, here we come. We're going from east to west to reach that western shore, and then we're going to travel back along the south coast over a 2-week period. Over those 2 weeks, we're going to stay at 6 different locations, some for just a night, others for a couple of nights. So the first journey on trip 1 was effectively from the east coast to the west coast of England. 180 miles of driving on A roads and motorways, and I've got to say I was feeling a bit nervous about this because when I practiced in the van I'd found it to be really spongy, and when a lorry came past it felt like the van was all over the place. But thankfully a friend of mine, Lucy Lou, suggested putting in extra air into the air suspension, so taking it from 60 to 70 psi, and that made a massive difference and made the whole trip way more comfortable. So thanks a lot, Lucy Lou. Our first stop is Globe Inn, which is one of these overnight pub stopovers you can see or find on Search for Sites, and essentially you can stay in their car park free of charge and you're obliged to go in and have something to eat. Well, that was no hardship. For the next 2 nights, we travelled 22 miles further west to Cheddar Gorge and spent a nice day walking up and down the gorge itself, looking at all the shops. We did climb Jacob's Ladder, but I don't have a lot of evidence to prove it. And then we moved on another 14 miles to the west coast and Bristol Channel and stayed for 2 nights at Burnham-on-Sea. So that's the plan for the first week. And over the weekend we're going to stay with family in a little township called Wadenbury, which is located on the outside of Salisbury. We're going out for the day to Christchurch with the Scott clan, and then we're off to the New Forest, which felt a bit Spursy when the ice cream man only had one Mr. Whippy left. It's at that point DJ Badger leaves us. So the following week we make our way back to Essex along the south coast, initially staying at another one of those overnight pub stopovers, the World's End, which are really good. And throughout this trip I plan to do a few geocaches and a few adventure labs, because those really do help you explore the local area. And then we move on to Norman's Bay in Pevensey, and we're going to use that to explore that little peninsula which has the Seven Sisters Cliffs and Beachy Head, which is at the bottom left of your screen now. We started walking the Seven Sisters on a sunny morning before this happened. That is hailstones! It's still in my ears. We then stayed overnight at a park and ride just outside of Canterbury, had the best pie at the Old Butter Market pub there before moving on for a day in Rochester and then heading home back to Essex.